Now part of the Darkcast network. Welcome to Indie Podcasts with a dark side. On Sunday, July 30th, 2023, doctors at Leongatha Hospital began seeing a disturbing pattern. 4 members of the same family were arriving with severe gastrointestinal symptoms, vomiting, diarrhea, and rapidly worsening liver function. The illness was aggressive. As doctors began treating the patients, a concerned medical professional made a call that would launch one of Australia's most notorious criminal investigations. Quote, "This is Dr. Chris Webster from the Leongatha Hospital. I have a concern about a patient who presented here earlier, but has left the building and is potentially exposed to a fatal toxin from mushroom poisoning." Welcome, lambs. Welcome to Season 6 of Love and Murder, Heartbreak to Homicide. I am so excited to be back. I missed y'all so much. Well, if you were into Patreon, you still got to somewhat hear me in December as I was still dropping bonus episodes. This season, we have the same mission, same focus, but fewer public episodes. I know you're asking why, and I did tell you in November, but I'll reiterate at the end of this episode. If you're new here, let me introduce myself and the podcast. My name is Kai, and I'll be your host. Love and Murder tells the stories where love, control, and betrayal collide, and we center the stories around people who didn't get a voice when it mattered most. Because I focus on the victim, and sometimes I feel just a fraction of the pain of their loved ones, you might hear some ranting and raving throughout my episodes, so don't be surprised if you hear that. Anyway, let me not take up any more of your time, and let's get back into this case of love and murder. Dr. Webster had initially become alarmed after Erin Patterson visited the hospital reporting stomach pains and diarrhea, but repeatedly refused to be admitted despite medical advice. The doctor was so concerned that after he tried to call her for a follow-up but failed to reach her, he called the police, spelling out her name and providing her address to them. Quote, "She was only here for 5 minutes. Meanwhile, the condition of the other patients, 70-year-old Don Patterson, his wife Gail Patterson, also 70, Gail's sister, 66-year-old Heather Wilkinson, and Heather's husband, 68-year-old Ian Wilkinson, deteriorated rapidly. All 4 had been at the same lunch the day before, hosted by Erin at her home in Leongatha, Victoria. All had eaten portions of beef Wellington prepared by Erin, a dish that typically contains finely chopped mushrooms. Now, for those of you who don't know what beef Wellington is, which basically I'm talking to myself, don't worry, I looked it up for us. According to TackNucketMeatandSea.com, beef Wellington is a beloved decadent dish that has been popular for centuries. It's made up of beef tenderloin, which is the most tender cut of beef, and tenderloin is also called filet mignon, mushrooms, sliced mushrooms that are sautéed and used as a layer around the beef, pâté, a mushroom pâté, finely chopped mushrooms, provides flavor and helps the pastry stick to the meat. Flaky, golden puff pastry wraps around the filling to form the Wellington shape. A layer of mustard or mustard seeds contributes flavor and aids browning. An egg beaten with milk or cream gives the assembled Wellington a glossy sheen. And then thyme, rosemary, and other herbs season the mushrooms, the beef, and the pastries. So basically, to me, that just sounds like a fancy hamburger. Please don't judge me. I'm just saying that's what it sounds like to me. Don't judge me. I've never had it, never seen it, but I mean, I've seen it. I haven't seen it in person. I've seen pictures of it. But if you're going to explain it to me this way, it just sounds like, oh, this is such a fancy hamburger. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, please tell me respectfully in the comments. Anyway, as you can see, this dish is centered around beef and mushrooms. So now that we know this, let's get back to the case. Ian and Heather ate their entire portions while Don ate not only his serving, but also half of Gail's. By the end of that weekend, doctors said that their symptoms matched poisoning from, and I'm going to say this wrong, I already know I am, Amanita phalloides, which is the death cap mushrooms. which is the most lethal fungus in the world. Now, let's pause here and back up to figure out how we got here. Erin Scudder, born on September 30th, 1974, grew up in Glen Waverley, a middle-class suburb in Melbourne's southeast. She came from an intellectual family. Her mother, Heather Scudder, was a respected lecturer at Monash University, specializing in children's literature, whereas her father, Eaton Scudder, held director roles in multiple Australian companies. In 1992, at 17, Erin secured admission to a science course at the University of Melbourne, then switched to accounting. She additionally trained as an air traffic controller, graduated in 2001. Throughout her formative years, Erin struggled with body image issues. Quote, "When I was a kid, Mom would weigh us every week to make sure we weren't putting on too much weight, and so I went to the extreme of barely eating." In the early 2000s, Erin met Simon Patterson while they both worked at Monash City Council. The couple married in 2007, with Simon's cousin walking Erin down the aisle because her parents were absent, reportedly in Russia on a train somewhere. Shortly afterwards, the newlyweds relocated to Western Australia, where they lived in Perth, York, and Pemberton and had 2 children together. Now, a year before their marriage, Erin had inherited approximately $2,981,070.20. This is Australia dollars, so in U.S. money, it's about $2 million. From her grandmother's estate, distributed gradually over 8 years starting in 2007. The inheritance funded the couple's lifestyles, including travels around Australia and overseas property purchases. The Patterson family became financially intertwined through Erin's generosity. She provided interest-free loans to Simon's 3 siblings and their partners to buy homes. This included Australian dollars $447,160.53, which in USD is $300,000. This was a loan to Simon's brother Matt to build a house. After her mother's death in 2019, Erin received another substantial inheritance, including a beachfront retirement home in Eden, New South Wales, valued at, in Australian money, $900,000, and in the US, that's about $60,381. Erin and Simon's relationship showed signs of instability from the start. The couple experienced several short-term separations beginning in the first year of their son's life, and by 2015, they separated, though they remained legally married and continued sharing custody. For years, they maintained what was described as an amicable arrangement, even traveling together with their children after the separation. Their finances remained connected, with both names listed as joint owners on several properties until around January 2021, when they began dividing assets. By late 2022, the relationship had completely changed. Simon listed himself as single on his tax return for the first time ever. Well, since they've been married. A move that affected Erin's government benefits. This change in status rendered Erin ineligible for certain government child support payments she had previously been receiving. After noticing this change, Erin asked Simon to start paying child support directly then. This led to significant tension between the pair regarding finances, specifically over who should pay for the children's school fees and medical bills. This led Simon to stop paying for these fees altogether. Erin became increasingly resentful, particularly towards Simon's parents, when they refused to intervene, even though it appeared she had a tight relationship with them before. In a December 2022 Facebook group chat, she wrote, quote, "This family, I swear," and quote, "I want nothing to do with them," and quote, "I thought his parents would want him to do the right thing, but it seems they're concerned about not wanting to feel uncomfortable and not wanting to get involved in their son's personal matters or overriding that, so fuck 'em." She referred to the Patterson family as, quote, "a lost cause." During that same period, Simon experienced a string of unexplained medical emergencies. Between November 2021 and September 2022, he was hospitalized 3 times with severe gastrointestinal symptoms. The second episode left him in a coma and required life-saving bowel surgery. Medical experts later determined his symptoms were consistent with barium carbonate poisoning, an ingredient in rat poison. Erin was initially charged with attempting to murder Simon in connection with those incidents, but the charges were later dropped. After his third hospitalization, Simon consulted with his doctor, Christopher Ford, who suggested tracking his meals. Simon ultimately concluded that his estranged wife was poisoning him and changed his medical power of attorney from Erin to his father. A file about barium carbonate was later discovered on Erin's computer around the time Simon fell sick in September 2022. How was she not arrested? Then, in early July 2023, Erin extended an invitation. She invited Simon and his parents, along with Heather and Ian, to her home for a meal to take place on July 29th, 2023. She told them she had received a medical diagnosis and wanted advice on how to tell her children. Erin said she had cancer, mentioning a lump on her elbow. The day before the meal, Simon declined his invitation, saying he felt too uncomfortable attending. Look, Simon, you are me and I am you. This is what I would have done. It's no way. Like, first of all, if I divorce somebody, even if we're amicable, I'm not eating from that person. I am too paranoid. I am not doing it. Second of all, if I did it and it continuously made me sick, I'm going to stop. Like, if I can't cook, I'll just take takeout. They're ready prepared meals. I can call like a Chinese joint. I can call a Mexican joint. I can call hamburgers or just whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not eating from this person. I went to the hospital and one of them put me in a coma. And then on top of all of that, after I even see there's a file in your computer saying the exact poisoning that I had, and now you're inviting me and my family over for a meal to discuss something, we can discuss something without eating. I'm not eating your food. So Simon declined the invitation, and then Erin responded by text saying, quote, I wanted it to be a special meal, as I may not be able to host a lunch like this again for some time. To which I would have replied, sucks to suck, but I'm still not coming. On Saturday, July 29th, Dawn, Gail, Heather, and Ian arrived at Erin's home where she served individual beef Wellingtons. Quote, each person had an individual serve. It was very much like a pastry. It was a pastry case, and when we cut into it, there was steak and mushrooms. Each guest received their portion on a large gray plate, while Erin served herself on a smaller, orangey tan colored plate, a detail that both Ian and his wife, Heather, noticed. Heather actually commented on it at the table, asking whether Erin was short on crockery. Throughout the meal, Erin was, quote, definitely eating, according to Ian, though he couldn't say, quote, with certainty how much she had. Within hours of leaving the house, all 4 guests became violently ill. Hours. Heather was the first to get sick, leaving bed to vomit, soon followed by her husband. By morning, all 4 guests were experiencing severe gastrointestinal distress with dozens of episodes of vomiting and diarrhea. Simon drove his uncle Ian and Aunt Heather to the hospital. Initially, doctors suspected food poisoning and focused suspicion on the meat. However, the situation rapidly deteriorated. Ian recalled being, quote, abruptly woken up by a group of nurses who literally ran us down the corridor in our beds to the urgent care area. Doctors observed liver failure and multiple organ failure. A doctor then informed them of suspected mushroom poisoning, saying, quote, it is a very serious situation, and that time-critical treatment was available. Toxicologists ultimately determined their symptoms indicated, quote, serious toxin syndrome caused by ingestion of Amatilla phalloides mushrooms. commonly known, as I said before, as death cap mushrooms. The day after the lunch, Erin visited the hospital reporting severe pains and diarrhea, symptoms similar to those experienced by her guests. But she repeatedly refused to be admitted despite medical advice. This is why Dr. Webster called authorities after she left. He just witnessed what happened and was worried about her. When authorities contacted Erin about her condition, she downplayed her symptoms, claiming that they were nowhere near as severe as those of her guests. Despite medical intervention, including emergency liver transplants for one patient, the victim's conditions continued to deteriorate. Then, on August 4th, just 5 days after the lunch, Heather and Gail died. Dawn also died the next day. Ian spent 7 weeks in the hospital, including 3 weeks in intensive care at Austin Hospital in Melbourne, and was the only one to survive. He was sedated and intubated with no memory of much of his treatment. After being moved to a ward and then to rehabilitation, he was finally discharged home about a month later on September 11th, 2023. Interestingly, Erin's kids ate leftovers from the same meal that killed these 3 people, but it was with the mushrooms and pastry removed. Medical professionals insisted the children should be checked for adverse reactions, but Erin initially didn't want to, which raised red flags for investigators. On August 4th, after Gail and Heather had died, a homicide investigation was officially launched by Victoria Police. Police got leftovers of the beef Wellington from Erin's trash can and sent them off for forensic analysis. They tested positive for toxins found in death cap mushrooms. You know, we've been talking about these mushrooms this entire time, and I haven't gone into depth about them, so let's do that real quick. According to Britannica.com, Amanita phalloides or death cap mushrooms are a species of poisonous mushrooms, the deadliest known to humans. The death cap is responsible for the majority of mushroom poisoning worldwide. Death caps are native to Europe, where they are widespread throughout the continent as well as on the British Isles. As of now, they can be found as an invasive species on every continent except Antarctica. Death cap mushrooms contain 3 main toxins: amatoxins, phallotoxins, and virotoxins. In the human body, these toxins stop DNA production, which leads to liver and kidney failure. Without treatment, that progression ends in coma and death. One mushroom can contain several times the amount needed to kill an adult. Even a small bite can be fatal. Cooking doesn't make them safe. Neither does boiling, freezing, or drying them. The toxins survive all of that. A medical imaging dye called idiocyanide green has been shown to reverse death cap poisoning in mice, but has not been tested on humans. So that's what death cap mushrooms are. Now that we know that, let's continue. On August 14th, 2023, Erin gave a statement to police. She admitted that she had used dried mushrooms in the meal, but claimed they were purchased from 2 separate supermarkets: button mushrooms from Woolworths and dried mushrooms from an Asian grocery store in Melbourne. Dude, I haven't heard of Woolworths in years. Wow. She claimed she couldn't remember the name of the Asian grocery store, which investigators found questionable given her detailed memory of other aspects of the meal preparation. She also denied foraging, denied any intent to harm, and said that she had no idea why her guests got sick. Police asked her if she owned a food dehydrator, but she said no. Because Erin blamed store-bought mushrooms, the Department of Health launched a frantic search for contaminated products on local grocery shelves. But in the end, they found no other reports of illnesses in the area. As part of the investigation, police got a warrant for Erin's electronic devices. She surrendered her computer, tablet, and her cell phone. Her computer showed that in May 2022, she went to sites listing sightings of death cap mushrooms. One page specifically mentioned, quote, death cap from Melbourne, Vic, Australia. Now, I just want to pause here for a second and just go back and think about what was her thought process throughout all of this. Did she think she was going to, I mean, of course she thought she was going to get away with it, but why? Like, you said you didn't do this on purpose. You didn't even know, death cap mushrooms, whatever, but all it took was a simple search of your computer and they already found that you did search death cap mushrooms, specifically exactly in your area. I don't understand people's mindsets when they do these things, Even more incriminating, the tablet had pictures of yellowy, dried mushrooms in a food dehydrator on a kitchen bench. Basically, didn't she just also tell them that she doesn't own a food dehydrator? Metadata indicated these photos were taken approximately 3 months before the lunch, suggesting a long-term planning rather than accidental contamination. Despite this discovery, Erin initially failed to mention the possibility of death cap mushrooms being in the dish while her guests were hospitalized, instead claiming she had used a mix of store-bought mushrooms, allowing doctors to waste valuable time trying to figure out the issue. Maybe if it was caught earlier, everyone could have been saved. But clearly, that's not what she wanted, even though she's telling police something different. Another interesting discovery was the phone Erin had given investigators. Forensics found that she had wiped the phone clean before giving it to them. But their job is literally digital forensics, and they were able to recover data from the phone. People, you cannot wipe the phone or the computer clean enough. Well, I mean, I guess unless you really know what you're doing, but still, there's a 50-50 chance. Just don't do what you're thinking about doing. If you don't want to be around this man, don't be around this man. Literally, it's not like she was hurting for money. She had properties all over the place. It's not like he wasn't taking care of his kids, unless she wanted primary custody, but that was never mentioned in here. Like, if you just didn't want to see this guy's face anymore, then don't see this guy's face anymore. Like, that was it. You didn't have to go and kill him and his entire family. Like, what is wrong with you? So on that phone, investigators found photos taken in April 2023, 3 months before the lunch, showing wild mushrooms being weighed on kitchen scales. She was asked again, do you own a food dehydrator? And again, she denied that she had a dehydrator. On November 2nd, 2023, Erin was arrested because she's a lying liar from Liarsville who can't even lie properly, and charged with 3 counts of murder and 5 counts of attempted murder. This included 1 count for Ian and 4 historical counts relating to Simon, whom police now allege that she had attempted to poison between 2021 and 2022. Now pause right here when I said she couldn't even lie properly. You shouldn't even be lying at all. So that was a sarcastic comment, just so you know. After Erin was arrested, police got a tip. A shop assistant came forward saying that they remembered selling her a food dehydrator that you said you didn't have on 2 separate occasions, including the pictures we saw, and now this person is telling us, oh yeah, that woman bought one for us. Anyway, they said they remembered selling her the food dehydrator that she used to prepare the mushrooms. So, they probably put out a picture, do you know? And they were like, yeah, she bought that from us. Because of this tip, police eventually recovered the dehydrator at the Kunwara transfer station, which is a waste facility. So basically she threw it away and it went all the way to the dump. When they asked Erin about it, she admitted that she had panicked and dumped it there. Oh, that food dehydrator. I thought you were talking about something else. But yeah, if you had asked me about that specific, particular food dehydrator, then I would have remembered. But you just said it general, food dehydrator. So I was like, no, I never had a food dehydrator before in my life. Forensic testing revealed traces of death cap mushroom and Erin's fingerprints on the appliance. On May 7th, 2024, Erin pleaded not guilty because, you have all this evidence. How could I possibly be guilty? I've lied about 20 times and been caught in all of them. I'm clearly not guilty. Her trial started on April 29th, 2025 in Morwell, Victoria. By the time the jury was sworn in, the prosecution made a key decision. They formally dropped the attempted murder charges related to Simon. Why? The case would move forward on 3 counts of murder for Dawn, Gail, and Heather, and 1 count of attempted murder for Ian. Prosecutors opened by portraying Erin as a woman with murderous intent who deliberately poisoned her lunch guests, because that's what happened. They argued the poisonings were deliberate, calculated, and followed by an elaborate cover-up. Prosecutor Nanette Rogers, SC, told the jury that Erin lived a double life. Publicly, she presented as someone with a good relationship with her in-laws, but privately, she was angry, resentful, and dismissive, referring to the family as a lost cause. Prosecutor Rogers said of the motive, quote, "You do not need to be satisfied what the motive was, or even that there was one. People do different things for different reasons. At other times, the internal motivations are only known by the person themselves." The prosecution laid out the timeline: the purchase of the dehydrator, the visits to death cap mushroom areas, the photos on Erin's phone, the separate plate at lunch, the fake cancer story, which prosecutors proved was fake because there was no medical record showing such a diagnosis, the dumping of the dehydrator while the guests were dying, the factory reset phone, and all of the lies to the police, which was like everything that came out of her mouth. They pointed at one of the pictures on Erin's phone, wild mushrooms being weighed on a kitchen scale. The prosecution argued that this was done to calculate a lethal dose. They also said that Erin performed factory resets on her phone 4 times to delete incriminating photos before giving it to police. Then they called on Ian. Ian described surviving while losing his wife. He told the court he felt only half alive without Heather. He said police eventually, quote, brought to light the truth of what happened with the death of 3 good people. Even then, he urged kindness, quote, "Our lives and the life of our community depends on the kindness of others." I'm sorry, couldn't be me. Not that I'm dismissing what he did and what he said, but I'm saying it just couldn't be me. Doctors testified. Dr. Webster said that once he realized Erin was not genuinely ill, he thought, quote, "Okay, yep, you did it, you heinous individual." He described her behavior as sociopathic, saying, quote, "She had a dilemma, and the solution that she chose is sociopathic." He was later sanctioned for comments he made publicly, but his testimony stood. So I guess the defense was trying to call him out like, yeah, look, this is how you were talking. We can't have you doing testimony, and the judge overruled that. The prosecution then presented evidence of traces of death cap mushroom toxins detected in the urine samples of Dawn and Ian. The prosecution said that as the guests lay critically ill, Erin began making moves. On August 2nd, 2023, she was captured on CCTV at the Kuuna transfer station dumping a food dehydrator. Wow. They even have you on video, woman. Man, I thought she put it in her trash and then the trash people came and, brought it to the dump and everything. No, she went to the dump herself and dropped it there. Then Erin's phone location data placed her in 2 specific locations, Lock and Outrim, precisely where death cap mushrooms had been documented on the Citizen Science website. Mycologist Tom May posted an observation of death cap mushrooms at Outrim on May 21st, 2023. Telecommunications expert Matthew Sorrell testified that Erin's phone connected to the Lock South base station for 43 minutes and the Outrim base station for 25 minutes on May 22nd, 2023. Daniela Barkley, one of Erin's Facebook friends, provided evidence of screenshots from a private chat. Daniela, you're just like me. I keep telling people, don't commit a crime around me because I'm going to. What, lambs? What am I going to do? I'm going to sing like a bird. Daniela, exactly. In these messages, Erin admitted to blitzing mushrooms to hide them in food for her children and shared images of mushrooms in her dehydrator. What do we always say, lambs? Tell everybody you know and everybody you don't. If you're going to commit a crime or if you have committed a crime, tell everybody around you. Have as much evidence on and around your person as possible. Now, the defense didn't deny that Erin lied. I mean, if they denied that, they'd be complete morons. Throughout the 6-week trial, defense attorney Colin Mandy mounted a vicious counteroffensive against what he termed the prosecution's cherry-picking approach to evidence. Okay, let's see where he's going with this. Conversely to the prosecution's portrayal of a calculated killer, attorney Mandy presented Erin as a panicked woman caught in a tragic accident who made poor decisions. He told jurors, quote, "This is not a court of moral judgment." He warned them not to leap from a lie about illness to murder. Quote, "Those two things are a very, very long way apart." On the cancer lie, Erin admitted it wasn't real. Quote, "I didn't have a legitimate medical reason. No, that's true. I led them to believe that I might be needing some treatment." You led them to believe, or you literally told them outright? She said that she had been planning gastric bypass surgery due to a lifelong body image struggles. She said, quote, "I'd been fighting a never-ending battle of low self-esteem most of my adult life, and the further inroads I made into middle age, the less I felt good about myself." Erin said that she was distrustful of the medical system based on past experiences with her children's health care, often turning to Dr. Google for self-diagnosis. Please don't Google anything when it comes to what's wrong with you, because by the time you finish scrolling down for a cough, they're going to tell you you're dead. Like, you're dead. How did you even ask this question? Google is not a doctor. She said that she was embarrassed about looking into the weight loss surgery and thought claiming a serious illness would help her get support with childcare logistics. Yeah, but then when everybody came, you didn't say anything about weight loss surgery, did you? So the lie detector test determined that was a lie. I'm just saying a quote from Maury because they didn't do a lie detector test on that. But I mean, people came to your house. You never mentioned anything about weight loss surgery. Why are you mentioning it now? Prosecutors pushed back at this claim and revealed that her scheduled appointment was at a cosmetic dermatology clinic that didn't offer such procedures. Quote, "Well, I had an appointment with them, and that's my memory of what the appointment was for." How can it be your memory of what the appointment was for when these people don't even have that procedure available? Erin admitted dumping the dehydrator. Quote, "It was this stupid knee-jerk reaction to just dig deeper and keep lying. I was just scared, but I shouldn't have done it." She admitted deleting phone data. Quote, "I knew that there were photos in there of mushrooms and the dehydrator, and I just panicked, and I didn't want detectives to see them." She testified that she had developed an interest in wild mushrooms during the lockdowns in 2020, foraging at Kurabura Botanical Gardens. Erin claimed that she gained confidence identifying different mushroom species, sometimes consuming those she collected herself without incident. Erin maintained that it was all just a terrible, terrible accident, misidentified mushroom, panic afterwards, and fear of being blamed. I would believe that if you actually went through the same ordeal as your other guests and even your kids. Not saying that you should have poisoned your kids, but if it was just all some terrible, horrible, no good accident, then y'all would have just eaten exactly the same things that you fed the other people, and all of y'all would be going through something. Don't you think? It's just so coincidental that you didn't eat the mushrooms and neither did your children, but everybody else had those mushrooms. That's a hell of an accident. Internationally recognized mushroom expert Dr. Tom May agreed with defense that distinguishing between toxic and edible fungi could be difficult. Dr. May also explained that the death cap mushrooms, quote, vary in color and that their distinctive ring can sometimes fall off older mushrooms. He confirmed that just one mushroom can kill an adult, yet they, quote, taste pleasant and look similar to edible mushrooms used in cooking. But he contradicted Erin's claim that mobile apps might have misidentified deadly mushrooms as safe varieties. He said, look, we update these apps and we are very meticulous with it, and don't try and blame us. The prosecution challenged multiple elements of her story, essentially arguing that she used different plates to separate her non-poison portion from her guests' lethal servings. Quote, to avoid any error, you took the extra precaution of using a different and smaller plate to plate your non-poison served. Correct or incorrect? Incorrect, Erin responded. Simon said that he warned his family members about his suspicions. Quote, he had stopped eating food that Erin had prepared because he suspected Erin had been messing with it. When asked about her supposed stomach issues, Erin said that she believed her symptoms came from eating too much cake left over from lunch. The defense maintained that Erin's actions after the lunch stemmed from panic rather than guilt. Quote, it could only have been panic, not because she was guilty, but because that's what people might think. Erin Patterson had a motive to keep these people in her world so that they could keep supporting her and her children. Why would she take wonderful, active, loving grandparents away from her own children? After deliberation following 9 weeks of evidence, on July 7th, 2025, a jury returned their verdict finding the 50-year-old guilty of 3 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. Justice Christopher Beale heard sentencing arguments in September, with prosecutors characterizing Erin's actions as, quote, worst category offending. The court then heard emotional victim impact statements. Ian delivered a powerful testimony addressing Erin directly. He questioned what foolishness led her to think murder could be the solution to her problems. That's what I was saying. He said, quote, I bear her no ill will. My prayer for her is that she uses her time in jail wisely to become a better person. Simon talked about the devastating impact on his children, saying, quote, the grim reality is they live in an irreparably broken home with a solo parent, when almost everyone knows their mother murdered their grandparents. Within the community, residents expressed hope for healing. Quote, I hope they will have a sense of closure and a sense of justice. Then Justice Beale spoke. Quote, your victims were all relatives by marriage. More than that, they had all been good to you and your children over many years. Your crimes involved an enormous betrayal of trust. Not only did you cut short 3 lives and cause lasting damage to Ian Wilkinson's health, you inflicted untold suffering on your own children, whom you robbed of their beloved grandparents. Only you know why you committed them. I will not be speculating about this matter. Your failure to exhibit any remorse pours salt into all of the victims' wound. You showed no pity. On September 8th, 2025, Justice Beale sentenced Erin to 3 life sentences, plus 25 years of imprisonment, all to be served concurrently. The court imposed a non-parole period of 33 years, meaning Erin would be 82 years old when eligible for release. The severity of the sentences places Erin among the ranks of Victoria's worst killers. Currently, she is imprisoned at the Dame Phyllis Frost Center in Western Melbourne. Shortly after sentencing on July 30th, 2025, the Supreme Court of Victoria barred Erin from selling her Leongatha home, preserving it for potential compensation claims. Within weeks, both sides appealed. On October 6, 2025, the final deadline day, prosecutors argued that the sentence was manifestly inadequate and said Erin should never be eligible for parole. They directly challenged Justice Beale's consideration of Erin's harsh prison conditions. The prosecution had originally requested Erin never be released, given the horrendous nature of the crime. Justice Beale had specifically cited Erin's solitary confinement, effectively 22 hours daily in her cell, as justification for allowing eventual parole possibility. In November 2025, Erin's lawyers filed their own appeal alleging a substantial miscarriage of justice. They pointed to jury sequestration issues, cross-examination concerns, and what they called prejudicial evidence. They actively outlined 7 specific grounds for appeal, but the most notable one was citing a fundamental irregularity in jury management. Court documents reveal that jurors were sequestered in the same hotel as police witnesses and media representatives, a situation her lawyers claim, quote, fatally undermined the integrity of the verdicts. Additionally, they challenged the admissibility of cell tower evidence, placing Erin near documented death cap mushroom locations. The appeal also questioned the judge's decision to exclude certain SD card evidence showing Erin's history of mushroom foraging. In their most damaging allegation, the defense claimed that Erin endured unfair and oppressive cross-examination over 5 days. As of November 2025, Erin is incarcerated at the Dame Phyllis Frost Center, fighting on two fronts, against the prosecution's push for a harsher sentence and her own attempt to overturn the conviction entirely, as she's consistently maintained her innocence. What are your thoughts on this case? I know you missed it, so I'm going to start putting them out again as the case calls for them. If I'm allowed to, I will put a poll for this in the Spotify comments. I don't know if they're still going to allow me to because Spotify has changed some stuff. But if not, you can head over to the Patreon and answer the poll. You can do that on the free tier or on the paid tier. I'm going to put the poll open for everyone. Patreon.com/love and murder. The poll question is going to ask, do you think she's innocent or do you think she's guilty? So your choices are just going to be innocent or guilty. In the meantime, though, let me know your comments below or over in the Patreon as a free or paid member. Like I said before, patreon.com/love and murder. Now, I promise to tell you why I'm doing less public episodes this season. Last season, I told you how overwhelmed I am at doing these episodes by myself. I don't have a team yet, but this is a short-term goal that I have. I've literally tried everything, even incorporating AI hosts to lessen my workload, but it was still too much. So instead of closing down LAM, I'm just pulling back on the amount of episodes that I put out until I at least have one team member hired. What I can guarantee you are your full Monday episodes and your Lamb Fam bonus episodes. Those will definitely come out. Now, here and there, you'll get Wednesday and or Florida Man Friday episodes. I do love doing my midweek episodes and I don't want to give them up, but I don't want to promise them to you until I have help and I know that I could 100% get them out to you without burning out. So, some weeks you're going to get Florida Man Friday or midweek Wednesday. Again, I don't want to promise that to you because if I'm way too busy that week or, a case is very heavy or something, I don't want to promise it to you. So, just be on the lookout for some bonus public episodes. Now, reading the comments, I know that most of you understand and just want to support the victims and Lamb, but some of you don't want to hear anything about my life, my struggles. You say I'm bitching and moaning, just want me to shut up and churn out the cases. Well, for those of you who think like that, I'm sorry to tell you that I share what I want to share on my podcast. So stick around or don't. It's up to you. But I'll keep telling my lambs what's what. So that's what season 6 looks like. I'm excited to be back and I look forward to hearing from you. And also huge shout out to Christina Bobo, who kept sending me case ideas throughout the entire month of December. I might not have answered yet, but I saw each and every single one of your tags, so keep them coming. Thank you so much. And to everyone else, thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. And as I end each full episode, if you're a seasoned lamb, you already know what I'm about to say, so clear your throat and say it with me now. It's all love and no murder, y'all. See you next week. Bye.